If I could save time in my butthole.
This is indeed a disturbing universe.
Hello, greetings, and welcome. Welcome to the Stereo 999 YouTube channel. I am your host, the artist formerly known as Stereo Steve. And here we are. It's another video. As of filming, it's Groundhog's Day, and it's going to be Saturday when this goes up, hopefully, if I get it done on time. But anyway, this was another week where I was not sure what I was going to do for a video. I had some kind of half-baked ideas that I was just going to film some fragments and throw them out there. But then I got to watching, and I was watching, and I saw that Chris Propfe started a thread. Chris Propfe, Musically Obsessed, started a thread for singer-songwriters. And I thought, hey, I'm something of a singer-songwriter myself. YouTube has too many fucking ads. It's really bad. It's making me mad. And I looked through my records and I found a few. And some of them are a little off the beaten track. So hopefully this thread will stay and grow, because I think it's got a lot of potential, you know. And I think it's got a lot of potential. And so I'm going to just, I'm just going to go with it. I'm just going to go with it. Going to start with some of the basic ones, you know. James Taylor. I'm not going to talk about this, even though this is probably the most popular album. I'm going to talk about the first James Taylor album. And what makes it interesting is that James Taylor's first album was on the Beatles' Apple Records label. And it was a little more heavily produced with orchestrations than his later more acoustic stuff. And it's got some good songs. It's got some good songs. And you know, that kind of brings up another thing. You know, by definition, singer-songwriters write and sing their own songs. But then, what was the big hit song off this record? What was James Taylor's most popular song? You've Got a Friend. Who wrote You've Got a Friend? Carole King. Now this is the quintessential 70s singer-songwriter album. And you know, Carole King, she had a whole career in the 60s with her partner Jerry Goffin, writing songs for others. She wrote a bunch of monkey songs, like the Porpoise song. She wrote the Locomotion. Come on, baby, do the locomotion. But this album in 1971 established her as a star in her own right. Another tops on anyone's list of great singer-songwriters, Harry Nilsson. And this is his album, Nilsson Schmilsson. And as you can see, he's in the kitchen. He's got the munchies. He's probably holding a bowl in his hand here. But yeah, Harry Nilsson, another great singer-songwriter. But then his two most well-known songs, he did not write. I mean, the big hit off of this album, Without You, also known as Ken Lee, was originally done by Badfinger. on this album. And a lot of great versions of Without You. Um, Harry Nilsson, of course, Heart, Mariah Carey, right? Okay. But No Dice by Badfinger is a great record, just to, you know, digress. It's got No Matter What. The other big hit song from Harry Nilsson is Everybody's Talking at Me, which was actually originally done by Fred Neil on his self-titled album on Capitol. Yeah, even if you've never heard of Fred Neil, you've probably heard a lot of his songs. Like That's the Bag I'm In, The Other Side of This Life, which the Animals did, and I think Jefferson Airplane did it. But yeah, and there's also a song on here called The Dolphins, which is a really cool song. You know, and he's got a nice baritone voice. And you know, he wasn't kidding when he wrote a song about dolphins, because near the end of his life, he was working for a nonprofit organization that was all about saving the dolphins. Okay, what's another classic 70s singer-songwriter? Don McLean. But I am not going to talk about American Pie. I am going to talk about this record, Homeless Brother by Don McLean. And here's the thing. I mean, if you remember the video I did about the top 200 albums book, when I did the 200 subscriber special, hint, hint, you want another special? I need 300 subscribers. The other big reference book I used when I was a kid to like investigate music was the Rolling Stone record guide, Rolling Stone album guide that Rolling Stone magazine put out. A big, thick tome full of useful information and useless misinformation. And anyway, so this album got the lowest rating, 0 out of 5, which intrigued me because I'm just like, how bad could this record possibly be to incur that kind of wrath from a major music publication? So when I found it for $1, I grabbed it, and it's fine. It's fine. The hit song, the single, is a song called Wonderful Baby, which is cute. It's a cute song that could be like from a 1930s movie or something. There's a lot of studio musicians on it. Yeah, Joel Dorn produced this, and there's like a lot of studio musicians. It's a little overproduced, but yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It you know, maybe it's not the greatest album ever made, but it 0 out of 5. Come on. Yeah. Maybe they meant it was not bad enough to be so bad it's good. But it's all right, you know. Of course, there's Yusuf, Cat Stevens, and of course this is my favorite Cat Stevens album, the one with Morning is Broken and The Wind and Moon Shadow, Teaser and the Fire Cat. But what I'm going to talk about is It So, late 70s album. And again, this has a lot of keyboards, a lot of synthesizers. Doesn't sound like a typical Cat Stevens album. Even to the point where the best song on this album is an instrumental track called Is Dog a Donut? Tim Hardin, another one kind of more known in folk music circles. But again, you've heard a lot of songs that he wrote. If I Were Carpenter, Reason to Believe, which Rod Stewart and the Carpenters both did good versions of. And if you're into psychedelic music and you're familiar with this absolutely beautiful album, band Gandalf, they did several Tim Hardin songs. They did Hang On to a Dream. But this particular record is part of the MGM Archetypes series, of which there were, I guess they did Tim Hardin. Speaking of Tims, and not the river in England, but speaking of people named Tim, Tim Buckley, Blue Afternoon. This is a really nice record. Very moody and jazzy and laid back and beautiful songs. Happy Time, which I heard on the Big Ball compilation. I Must Have Been Blind, which along with Song to the Siren was covered by This Mortal Coil. But yeah, Tim Buckley, brilliant. And like his son Jeff, he left us way too soon. I'm pretty sure he was 27 Club. And unlike Jeff, he made a bunch of albums. He made several albums, and his music went through a lot of different phases. There was like folky stuff, psychedelic stuff, jazzy stuff. But yeah, Tim Buckley. This guy I've talked about before, David Ackles, played piano and sang. And I discovered him through that Top 200 Albums book. The Rolling Stone Record Guide called his music piano-based art songs. And I think what I said before is he's kind of on this axis of Scott Walker, Leonard Cohen, and Neil Diamond. But this is his most well-known album, American Gothic, on the Elektra label. Produced by Bernie Taupin, who was Elton John's lyric writer. But I don't know, his stuff is kind of intense. You kind of have to be in the right mood. But when you are in the right mood,
this ship goes where I want it to go.
Security, take them both to the brig.
Freeze.
See an exciting NFL football doubleheader Sunday on NBC.
Това на какъв език беше?
You wait here. I'll be back in a moment.
You've taken the drug again.
I had to. The effect is wearing down.
Are you all right?
For what I have to do, yes. Come on.
products I won't buy anymore, politicians that I'm not gonna vote for. This guy I just discovered recently through Spotify, Jim Sullivan. And he made this one album in the 70s and then disappeared, like literally disappeared. He's like a missing person. And there are videos on YouTube about the curious case of missing Jim Sullivan. But this record is called UFO, reissued by Light in the attic. Speaking of Jims, don't mess around with Jim. Jim Croce, his greatest songs. He was great. He again, left us too soon, but his songs are still classics. Bad Bad Leroy Brown, Time in a Bottle, Operator, good stuff. But this is not only a greatest hits, it's on the K-Tel label. How cool is that? This mysterious lady is Judy Sill, and her music was really interesting. Really interesting. When this record was reissued about 15 years ago, I was kind of obsessed with it. I don't know how to describe it. It's like this kind of religious, mystical, but also kind of country and kind of epic. But yeah, some people lean towards the second album, Heart Food, which is also really good. But yeah, this first Judy Sill album, and yeah, she had problems with drugs and stuff. I think this was one of the first records released on the Asylum label. Another great, relatively obscure singer-songwriter lady from the 70s who is still with us, Linda Perhacs, Parallelograms. This is a psychedelic folk masterpiece. I mean, there was a reason that people were paying big bucks for original copies of this record. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. And this is the reissue from maybe 2010, I think, on the Mexican Summer label. I saw her play. I got it signed, which was cool. But this is a 2-record set. The second disc is bonus tracks that were on the CD reissue. Yeah, there was an interesting story about how the guy who first reissued her album was trying to track her down because he couldn't find the master tapes, and the original vinyl pressings kind of sounded like crap. And he finally found her working as a dental hygienist, and she had her own personal reel-to-reel tape copy of her album, and that's what all of the reissues, all the legit reissues of this album were made from. Okay, this guy I've talked about before, Terrence Boylan. He was half of the psychedelic duo Apple Tree Theater with his brother. And then in the 70s, he made a couple of albums for Elektra Asylum. This is the second one from 1980 called Susie. And it's kind of somewhere between yacht rock and folk rock. Kind of rocks out. The title track, Susie, is a good catchy tune. And he's a good songwriter. He's a good singer. And if you like Jackson Browne, you will dig Terrence. Jackson Browne, Running on Empty. This is probably my favorite Jackson Browne record because it takes me back to 8th grade and listening to the album-oriented rock radio stations. And this is a pretty rockin' album. It's got a lot of styles because he recorded this while he was on tour. So some songs are live, some songs are recorded in the studio, some songs are recorded in hotel rooms. And I used to have 2 copies of this record. I kind of wish I still had both copies because of an interesting anomaly that I discovered with a later pressing of this I found. Okay, so this is the original with this Asylum record. And there's a song at the end of the first side called Cocaine. And it's recorded in a hotel room. And at the end, there's a little bit of talking, and there's a sound of him obviously inhaling something. And I found a later pressing of it that had that part censored out of the song. Say no to drugs, kids. So the label of the versions of the album that had that part censored out are this Asylum label. And I'm going to just finish off with this brilliant album. This is Court and Spark by Joni Mitchell. It's a more rockin' record, but it's got a couple of my favorite songs by her. Help Me and Free Man in Paris, and she does a cover of Annie Ross, Twisted, and yeah. This one in blue, I think, are like the cornerstone Joni Mitchell records. But anyway.
Steve, what the hell?
Huh? What? What's up, Mr. Gopher?
Not only were you filming on Groundhog's Day, but you had a cup of tea in your hand, and you didn't include me in any of that.
Yeah, but you know, you don't live on the couch. You live on the desk. You're a desk gopher.
I'm Mr. Gopher. I can go for wherever I want.
Do you have anything important to say?
I don't know. Just that I hate U2 bands too, and they suck.
Yeah. But I guess people do what they got to do, you know. Some people are making their living off of this. I don't want to disrespect any of them. But yeah,
That's metal in your lungs. That's metal in your lungs.
that's my 70s hippie singer-songwriter video thread. Get on this thread. Have fun with it. I kind of had fun with this, and you know, there'll be some edgier stuff next week, I promise. But no, listen to some Tim Buckley. Listen to some Jim Croce. Listen to Is Dog a Donut by Cat Stevens. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you got this far, thank you for watching. Ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da.